physiatrist. He has consulting rooms in Santa Cruz, Mumbai. He is also a research associate at the Department of Psychiatry, Lokmanya Tilak Municipal Medical College. A founder, trustee, D'Souza Foundation, a trust that works in the area of mental health awareness across all sectors. Associate Professor and Secretary, International Institute of Organizational Psychological Medicine, an organization that works in the field of organizational psychological medicines and across 7 countries. Sir has been an international faculty for UNESCO, a chair in bioethics, working in over 8 countries for the same. He is the chief editor of Indian Journal of Mental Health. He is also an associate editor of Annuals of Indian Psychiatry, Industrial Psychiatry Journal, and Global Bioethics Inquiry. Sir is also an assistant editor in Indian Journal of Psychiatry. He works with 8 mainstream and special schools in Mumbai as a visiting school psychiatrist, counselor, and school mental health expert. Sir is also a visiting faculty at various teacher training courses across Mumbai and at multiple and psychotherapy training centers across India. He has over 700 publications in national and international journals and is the author of over 12 books in the area of mental health. One of the few psychiatrists who, in addition of a psychiatrist degree, has a master's in counseling and psychotherapy, an MPhil in applied psychology, an MBA in human resource development. He has also been awarded a doctorate in clinical psychology from the University of Hertfordshire, UK in the year 2011. I am feeling privileged to read this CV, and what a apt topic for our first year students in this pandemic time, where since April students are at home with their parents. Our students are millennium generation, which are glued to Netflixes, WhatsApps, and the telephones. This 6 months of lockdown has been a really tiring and examining time for all the students as well as parents as well as all of us. And sir, I request you to please throw light on how are we looking at this mental health as an issue, and how you can help us cope up with various stresses that we are going through in this lockdown period and otherwise. Over to you, sir.
Sure. Well, good morning, everyone. And I'm very thankful to Hemlata ma'am and all the staff of KC College. I mean, who I always regard as my extended family. So I don't feel new when I'm coming to KC College. I mean, in fact, I'm as good as a visiting mental health expert to KC College. Next time I'll add that in my CV. Well, coming to the talk today, the reason we thought of this topic, mental health in a modern era, the whole aim was that what is the modern era now? I think we should refer to it as the post-pandemic era, probably, so we are in very unprecedented times. I mean, this is something which we've never experienced, and I think many of the senior people here who are attending and those who are here will agree that we have become a very resilient generation, and I think even our youngsters have become a very resilient generation. So I mean, I will start with this because I think resilience is something which we have all built, the ability to bounce back after any stress, any trauma that happens. That is what is resilience. And for students also, resilience is very important, because when you go into any era, when you go into any environment, your resilience matters the most. And if you look at say this whole era, particularly, let's say at my age, when I look at my era, I remember when I appeared for the 10 standard exams, we had the 1992-93 bomb blasts that happened, and following which we had riots in our city, which took us by storm. Then I remember in 96, we had the train blasts. Then in 2001, we had the US terror attacks, which also shook us. Then in 2005, I think we had the floods on 26th of July, which also shook Bombay. And we were, all stranded in water at some part of the city. And the students may have been young who are attending, but this is what did happen. And then, of course, we had the Taj terror attacks, which also happened in 2007 or 8, and then that 2006, rather 7 or 8, that was something which shook us again. And following that, there have been multiple things that have happened. We've had cyclones come, we've had tsunamis hit India, and now we've had a demonetization that we all went through, and we've also seen a pandemic. So we've actually seen everything probably except a hurricane, and luckily we don't need to see one. But the thing is, we've been through a lot. So I think mental health is very paramount for the very simple reason that I'm not talking about mental illness. So don't confuse the two. I'm talking about mental health. Many a times in my clinic, people come to me, students come to me, young people come to me, and they come to me after something has happened. So they very often come and tell me, I failed in an exam. I am now depressed. I'm anxious. My girlfriend or boyfriend left me. Now I'm broken. Or they'll say, my parents have been, having fights, and we've been having fights at home for last 5 years. And now I'm totally broken down. Or they'll come and say, I am probably taking to cigarettes or alcohol because I'm not able to cope with my problems. So they come after a problem starts. In 25 years of my practice, I haven't had a single person who came to my clinic and ever told me, doctor, I have come for my regular mental health checkup. I just want to know whether I am fine, whether I'm prone to developing stress, whether I'm prone to developing any problem. Because in our city, the first thing with regard to mental health, I want to tell everyone is there is no shame in seeking help. One of the most common drawbacks we have is psychiatrist ke paas jana hai means it's a big taboo. He's then going to probably label me as a diagnosis. He will give me medication. He will sedate me, and lifelong I'll be dependent on the medication. These are the commonest myths that people have, and they say then everyone will know I'm going to a psychiatrist. That is going to be far more stigmatic. So the key thing is that there is no harm in seeking help. That's the first important point I want all students to know. In your own college, you will have counselors. In your own college, you have a psychology department. So if you ever feel stressed or worried, please seek help. There is no shame in seeking help. And a psychiatrist is a doctor, a human being just like y'all. So it's not that, we are very different and we label people who come to us with diagnosis. So that's the first point. The second point that I want to also make is that mental health issues are very, very common, and they have risen after the pandemic. They have risen after the lockdown. So many a times people think, no, in my house, there is no one who has a mental health issue. I will probably never know anyone who has a mental health issue. But depression is one of the most commonest problems that we are seeing. Anxiety or worry is one of the most commonest problems that we are seeing. WHO says 1 in 3 people suffer from depression. 1 in 3 people suffer from anxiety. So I always tell students in a packed hall, look to your left, look to your right. If both of them are happy, it's you. So it's 1 in 3. So that's how common it is. So the thing is that we think, it's not that common, but it is. And very often, one of the common things I have seen with younger people, younger students between the age of, say, 16 and 25, is that they feel if I seek help, then I'm weak. Or they feel if I seek help, probably that means I'm not able to handle the issue on my own. So that is, quite derogatory for them, which is not true. You're actually seeking scientific help from someone who's trained, someone who's a professional. So there's actually no shame in that. Another very important thing is mental health is everybody's business. So I always tell students that, you have to look after your mental health. You have to look after the mental health of your parents who are middle-aging. You have to look after the mental health of elderly people in your family. You have to probably look after the mental health of your friends. So everyone's mental health collectively is very important. And what are the signs that I probably need help? The signs are, well, I'm getting irritable. I'm feeling low. I'm feeling worried. I'm feeling anxious. What is anxiety? When I feel chhati mein dhad dhad ho raha hai, ghabrahat ho raha hai, something will happen, and I feel now, worried, I start sweating, and I keep feeling that way most of the day, or it comes in bouts and goes, that means I have an anxiety issue. If I feel low, if I feel sad, if I don't feel like eating, I'm not sleeping well, and you probably may be having signs of depression, and you need to seek help. And very often people think the common misline, the wrong line used is, it's a phase, it will go away. And I always tell students, if your mom had cancer, you wouldn't say it's a phase, it will go away. You'll immediately take her to the best specialist possible, get her diagnosed. If your dad had a heart attack, you wouldn't say it's a phase, it will go away. So when you suffer from depression or anxiety, why do we say it's a phase, it will go away? And very often you have parents, elders, friends who tell you, snap out of it. It's not going to be easy to snap out of it. A lot of people think, it's something that they can snap out of. No, you can't. It's very difficult. It's very difficult for someone who's anxious and depressed to pull himself together and snap out of it. No, it doesn't really happen. You all are all young people, and there are many other things which are going to affect your mental health. This year as an academic year is very different. One is everything has been delayed. Results, admissions, semesters, lectures are going to be online for some time. So the academic process is very different. The teaching learning process is very different. And you will physically not see your teachers probably say till the end of the year or till early next year. And so it will be very difficult for you to, imagine that you're going to a virtual college rather. I mean, you may enjoy it because it's from home. You can probably sit on your chair or sofa and attend your lectures. But the thing is, you still will miss the physical joy of being in a college. There is a physical joy when you enter college first year under graduation. And when you enter a college which is known, which you have longed to go to, and now you're not allowed to go to because of a pandemic, it does affect you. KC College is very famous for its academics. For me, KC College is more than academics. I like all the food stalls in and around KC College. So when I, visit KC College, I also visit all the food stalls around and I see what street food is available because I don't go to Bombay side often. So college is not only just academics. It's about good food, friends. There are a lot of things to visit nearby in South Bombay. There are a lot of things to do. Fashion Street also is just a little bit away. So there are multiple things that you do when you go to college. So you look forward to that. There are movies to see. There is Inox, which is nearby. There are multiple things. You look forward to a number of things, which probably you're not going to be able to do now in your first year because everything is online and nothing is opening up. None of the cinema halls are opening up. Nothing is opening up. So mental health is bound to be affected. And you'll have already been in this so-called rut for 6 months now. You haven't probably gone to a mall. You haven't probably seen a movie in a theater. You probably haven't eaten out. Yes, you may order food off and on, but you're in that rut that you're not able to do anything that you did earlier. My young friends, one of the things I want you to understand is what this pandemic has taught us is it has learned to make us value the freedom we had. Earlier, we had a lot of freedom. We could go anytime, anywhere, do whatever we want. By putting us locked up in our houses for the first 3-4 months, slowly then we started venturing out a bit. It has made us realize the value of the freedom we had. If you remember, there were reports in the papers that because there are no cars on the roads, we are seeing beautiful animals. People reported peacocks from parts of Bombay. People reported other animals from parts of Bombay. The bird count increased. The oxygenation level of the city increased. All these reports came in. So what this pandemic taught us is to value the earth around us. It taught us to value what we have. It taught us to conserve what we have. So that is one aspect also, which is very important for your mental health. Another very important thing that you're going to encounter. Some of you may have already had your tryst with love and relationships. But when you enter college, this is one thing which is going to happen. And I mean degree college, all the more. You will have your share of love. You will have your share of living. You will have your share of breakups. You will have your share of crying. You will have your share of holding hands, etc., etc. All these things will happen. And you all are all 17, 18 young people. These are things which are going to happen. The hearts will beat and the minds will sway. It's very normal. Falling in love is not wrong, but learning to manage love is very important. The most commonest problem I see coming to me with teenagers today is what I call FLA, failed love affair. So very often they come and, they probably have been in an affair with someone. They've not been able to manage it. And then the breakup happens. And it's invariably either your first breakup or just your second breakup. And you're distraught. And you feel dumped, you feel cheated, you feel hurt. And you don't know whom to go and say, because very often these affairs are hidden from your parents as well. So they don't even know this has probably happened. Some affairs are short, some affairs are longer. And sometimes you have friends who may two-time you. You may have friends who may probably cheat on you. You may have friends who betray you in small ways. So these are things which do happen. And this is all part of the adult growing process. And you'll have to get strong and resilient to handle this. I always tell people the heart can never break. Though you come and say, my heart is broken. It never breaks. There are always ways and means to mend it. I remember I met a young girl who was 19. Her boyfriend left her. She was very upset. And she refused to meet a psychiatrist. So the parents knew me. They requested me, would I come home and see her? And she knew me as a young kid. So she said, maybe she'll talk to you. So when I went to her room, she told me, if you've come as a psychiatrist, I don't want to see you. If you've come as Avinash uncle, okay, I will probably see you. So I said, okay. And I sat down and I knew that, she liked strawberry ice cream. So I took a big bowl of strawberry ice cream and I went and I said, would you like to eat something? And she said, no, I don't want to eat anything. My boyfriend has left me and I will starve myself to death, etc., etc. So I said, well, I am going to have strawberry ice cream, whether you like it or not. So I started eating the ice cream in front of her and made all the yummiest sounds I could make. And then, she said, can I have little? I said, no, you're starving because your boyfriend has left you. So you shouldn't be eating. So she says, yeah, but then, it's okay. These things happen. And I said, no, these things don't happen. And then, of course, she had a little bit of ice cream. She had a little more. And then I said, now would you like to talk about it? And yes, she did. And very often talking about it solves a lot of the problem. Because in relationships, you all are young. One of the major factors is who is to blame? Am I that bad? Am I that good? Whose fault is it? These are things which worry you. And you need to talk about this to someone who has experience. When I say experience, I mean not that I've had multiple relationships. It's just that I have probably dealt with many people who've had these problems. So, so don't think that I'm someone who's probably had 100 or 150 relationships. No, not at all. But I've just dealt with a number of people who had breakups and I'm scientifically trained to deal with it. So you need to speak to someone, so that you get some idea as to how do you deal with loss. It does hurt. I will not say it doesn't hurt. You will cry. You will feel the pain. It's very normal and you have to. If you don't, then there is something wrong with you. You will feel the pain and you have to feel the pain, but we have to help you through it. That is something which is important. A number of people your age come and tell me, my parents don't see eye to eye with me. They don't agree with what I see. They will never. The generation is different. I always say they won't. I may not agree with my kid. My kid may not agree with his kid. It's as simple. It's very normal. I never agreed with some things that my parents told me. So it's a very normal thing that one generation never agrees with the other. But you have to learn to adjust. What happened in the lockdown? Everyone was locked up and you were forced to see each other's face 24 hours. You didn't have a choice. You were forced to deal with each other 24 hours. You were forced to bear each other 24 hours. And then, there were many young people who told me that, the whole day my parents after me, aisa baitho, aise karo, waise karo, ye mat karo, ye mat khao. It gets very irritating. Earlier, I had a lot of freedom at home. Now everyone is at home, so I can't do anything. And I said, this is something which is very, very normal. And this is something which is very, very, totally, I would say, fine. So this is something which is going to happen. You have to learn to adjust to your parents. Their thinking is going to be different from you. The thinking is going to be very different. The thinking is going to be totally opposite at times, and it will affect you. Many a times what does happen is that I've had parents who come and tell me that the child doesn't listen. He won't listen. The generation is different. But you can't still go away from your parents. No, you can't. You still can't probably, leave them aside. No, you can't. You have to go with them. Another thing about mental health is please learn to speak and discuss your problems. A very common issue that happens is people don't speak or don't discuss their problems. Very often they feel, ki I don't have a problem. That's a wrong thing. If you have a problem, even if it is mild, go and speak to someone about it. I don't say meet a doctor. Meet a psychiatrist. Meet a counselor. Talk. Don't take medicine. Don't take anything. Just meet. Talking itself solves a lot of the issues. But people don't seem to do that. They don't seem to understand and accept that. A lot of you have sleep issues. Many a times I've had people who don't sleep. They sleep very less. They sleep few hours a night. And they very often then say that, I am able to manage with 5.5 hours of sleep. That's very bad for your mental health. You need to sleep at least 7.5 hours to 8 hours. If you sleep less, you're bound to affect your mental health. Another factor that also affects your mental health is your tea and coffee consumption. A lot of people I know keep having multiple cups of tea and coffee in a day. And each one has their favorite. Someone likes Starbucks, someone likes Costa, someone likes Gloria Jeans and whatnot. But the thing is, coffee in large amounts is not good for your mental health. It makes you anxious. It makes you nervous. It makes you dependent. It makes you feel worried. It also causes acidity. So tea and coffee consumption has to also be curtailed a bit. Whenever I meet young students, I always tell them, do not smoke, do not drink. If you have to, and if you do, please do it in extreme moderation. And many a time students say, why not? Why can't we smoke? What is bad in smoking? And I always say that one cigarette is made up of a lot of chemicals. It is equivalent to having half a bottle of Baygon. It is equivalent to having half a bottle of phenyl, but you still smoke. And I don't think smoking makes you look cool. No, not at all. There is a huge trend among young students to try and smoke weed. Weed is cannabis or marijuana or grass or pot or charas or ganja, and it's very freely available. What students don't understand is that cannabis is a drug. It takes over your brain and then you don't have control over your brain. A lot of people give me the nonsense that cannabis is herbal. So I tell them even green tea is herbal. It doesn't mean that, you have to take to cannabis. A lot of false reports on the internet mention that cannabis increases creativity. It doesn't. It only increases your propensity to develop mental illness. A lot of people also complain that, cannabis helps them feel better and makes their mood feel better. And I always say, please find other things which make your mood feel better. You don't necessarily have to find things other than your cannabis or anything else. There are multiple other things that can make your mood feel better. Even the kind of shows you see on Netflix, on multiple sites matter. The more gorier, the more darker, the more violent, the more aggressive, the more, I would say, negative shows that you see, it's going to affect your mind. I know of people who see certain series on Netflix, which are extremely gory, which are extremely negative, and they binge watch it, meaning they see it end to end. And if you're going to see violent, negative, hostile, sexual, dirty content, which is, going to be on your mind 8-9 hours a day, it's going to affect your mental health a bit. We all love to see some kind of crime shows. I don't say no, but in moderation. I think in the pandemic, we've had people who have boasted of seeing half of Netflix. And I don't know what good it has done for their mental health. I know people who told me that the moment a news, and I've seen people, young people, your age, the moment a new series comes out, they want to be the first to finish seeing it. so that they can post on social media that I have seen it. There's no need. You can see it at your pace. You don't have to necessarily be the first. That brings us to another angle of social media and mental health. Very important. I always tell my friends and I always tell my young students, may your life be as nice as it seems on Facebook and Instagram. But it never is. You always paint a very rosy picture on social media. Please do not involve your personal life. Do not, I would say, project your personal life on social media. People who are going through a breakup, they very often change their DP into something so that they assume that their boyfriend or girlfriend will see it. Except him, everyone sees it and asks them, what happened and this and that. So very often you change your DP to suit one person, but the whole world sees it. So this is this is what I call WhatsApp relationship wars, which happen. And then you'll message something sarcastic, you'll wait for the other person to message. And there are a lot of WhatsApp wars that happen. Please do not take your relationship digital. If you don't like something about your relationship, call the person, make him sit down, talk to him face to face. Don't necessarily make it a digital war. Also, I have seen people who have to be on social media. They have to like every post. They have to like everything on Instagram. Nowadays, you have, of course, Telegram and Skype and multiple other things that make you addictive. TikTok was there in between. It's still there to some extent. PUBG was there. PUBG has gone now. There are many other video games which you play, which all make you addictive. They're interesting games, but please don't let the digital world rule your real world. Being excessively online makes you move away from people. Being excessively online makes you move away from relationships, makes you move away from real people. You're very happy in that online virtual world that you don't want to look at real people at all. You're very happy with your gaming friends that you don't want to look at your real friends at all. This is something which I feel is very important and something that you have to deal with on a regular basis. And you have to curtail your social media usage. The worst thing everyone does is that they're on their gadget post 10 p.m. and it becomes 1 a.m. before you realize. And then your sleep hours reduce. Never carry your gadget to the bathroom. Another principle. Things which normally would take 15 minutes end up taking 1 hour. So it's very important that you maintain digital hygiene. Normally, it does happen that, you tend to prefer to be on a gadget in the bathroom. No, I don't think it aids the processes you're going for. So don't take a gadget. Focus on what you're going for. It's very important. Focus on your bath. Focus on your hygiene. Focus on other things. Don't take a gadget inside. No, I don't think you should. Another very important thing that also is relevant is in today's era, you also have the ability to seek help online. Courtesy the pandemic, we have online counseling. Courtesy the pandemic, we have online mental health services. So you don't even have to leave your house to seek help. So if you feel you need to talk to someone, please do. If you feel your parents need to talk to someone, please get them online to talk to someone. They don't even need to leave the house. It's very accessible. People from all over the world can now consult us because of an online platform. This is something which was never there before, but it is something which has come in now. 10 rules that I'm going to give you for mental health in the modern era, after which I would open the session for some questions. First rule is, please be with people that induce positivity in you. You will find you have some people who come to you and always are crying. They give you their worries and then they go away. And you get worried and you don't sleep because of their worries, but they are fine. So it's very important that please be with people who make you feel positive, who make you feel happy, who make you smile. It's very important. 2, sleep well. Sleep at least 8 hours a day. Very important. 7.5 hours if you can. But sleep well and eat well. Both these things are very important. Eat at regular intervals. It shouldn't happen that, no, I will eat only one meal a day and I'm on intermittent fasting. Don't do all those things. Please eat regularly and properly. It's very important. Third point, respect that people will have different opinions. Your friends may not agree with you. Your parents may not agree with you. Your girlfriend or boyfriend may not agree with you. Respect that there are multiple individuals that have multiple views and they are entitled to their views. Let it not worry us if someone thinks different from us. We can't get the world to think like us. No, it's not possible. Either we have to adapt, but we cannot get people to adapt. What I'm trying to convey here is expect less and accept more. It's very important. Because when you expect more, you're always disappointed. So expect less and accept more. So when you accept people the way they are, it becomes very, very easy. Next point, please eliminate all your biases. You may have biases towards particular cultures, towards particular races, towards particular communities. Eliminate those biases. If you have a friend who, say, belongs to the LGBTQ plus community, don't look at him differently. If you have a friend who he says, I don't believe in God, don't look at him differently. Accept people as they are. And let our personal biases not come in the way of accepting people. It's very, very important. Talk regularly to your friends and family. There should be digital free hours where the family sits and speaks, where you talk to friends without the phone. We started this trend when we doctors used to go out for dinner, that we will all keep our phones away. The first person to pick up his phone will pay the bill. So the thing is, so everyone would never pick up their phone. And accidentally, if the first person would pick up the phone, he would have to foot the bill. So the thing is, that kept us digitally free for those few hours. It's very, very important. You need to have those digital free hours and talk to your family members. Someone told me, sir, in my family, this is a young boy, 19. He said, sir, half my family is mad. I can't talk to them. So I said, a family is like fudge. It is always full of nuts. You can't help it. So you have to enjoy the fudge. You can't really do anything. And the nuts will always be there. You can't change that either. So you will always have some. See, we all have some relatives who we don't like. I have some relatives, if I know they are coming over, I don't go home only that day. This is something which does happen. So we all have some relatives who we don't like. It's a very normal thing. So it's that way. We always have some neighbors who we don't like. If we see him in the compound, we don't get out of the car till he leaves. That also happens. So these are things which are there in every building. If you want to study psychology, housing societies are a very good place to study psychology. You'll get different types of personalities. One fellow is always looking to go to court. One fellow is always looking to fight. One fellow is very mild. Different types of personalities you get. So housing society meetings should have their own psychiatrists, but they don't call us. So that is, something which is there. But anyway, moving away from there, another very important facet is that spread positivity. A lot of times on COVID, I've seen people put negative news. Itne log mar gaye, ye ho gaya, wo ho gaya. They keep spreading it on WhatsApp. Spread some positive news. It's very important. If you spread positivity, you will get positivity. If you, keep spreading negative news, then people are also going to feel negative. Initially, when the pandemic started, all we got was negative news on social media. So, we also began to feel negative. Now what is going to happen? So it's important that you consume positive news on social media. Also, please check the authenticity of what you're forwarding. Many a times there are irresponsible forwards that happen. So please check the authenticity. In fact, there are websites where you can go and check the authenticity of a news. So you can go check it and then forward it. So please don't forward anything unnecessarily. Even if you have online academics, enjoy it. An online classroom doesn't mean that you switch off your video and go to sleep while the teacher teaches. No. Ask her a lot of questions. Make your presence felt even online. Ask a lot of questions, and any topic that is being taught, discuss about it online. It's very, very important. I mean, you can make the online class as lively as you want. It's not that, it has to be just a lecture kind of thing. No, not necessary. So that is something which is up to you. Believe in yourself. Very important. Don't think I'm good for nothing. Don't think I don't look good. Don't think I'm overweight. Don't think I'm dark. Don't think I'm hopeless. No, believe in yourself. Each one of you is an individual that has tremendous potential. Each one of you is extremely friendly, is a nice individual. We all have positives and negatives in our personality. We can't do much about it. But please be accepting that this is me. I get lot of people, sir, अगर मैंने 10 किलो कम कर लिया ना तो अच्छा रहूंगा, अगर मैं थोड़ा गोरा हो गया तो अच्छा रहूंगा, अगर मैं थोड़ा मेरे बाल लंबे हो गए तो अच्छा होगा. So what will you get? Nothing. It doesn't change the person. It only changes the way you look. So don't accept yourself how you are. Learn to love yourself. Accept yourself how you are. If no one loves you, love yourself, I say. Groom yourself, buy some new clothes, do something good for yourself. No, don't sulk ki no one loves me. So there's no this thing. I remember a boy I met, 20-year-old, who told me that a lot of people in my class have a girlfriend. I don't have a girlfriend. So maybe there is something wrong with me. So I said, maybe you are probably a little late. It happens. I said, you'll find love finally. Aisa nahi hai ki you won't find love. So he said, no, I went and proposed to 1 or 2 girls and they said no. And they gave me that standard line, we will be good friends, but we will, not, we have no such feelings for you. So what should we do? So he says, am I bad looking? Am I, So I said, maybe the girls who you proposed to, you didn't appeal to them. Maybe there is someone else who loves you, but you don't know. Maybe she admires you silently, that can also happen. And you all haven't met. So these things happen. So I said, maybe you'll find someone. I was very surprised. Some years later, I was at a marketplace buying something and he came and told me, sir, do you recognize me? And I didn't recognize him. So he said, you met me and I was told you I don't. And then I immediately remembered. So he said, in my post-graduation, one girl came and told me she likes me. And, and I also liked her, and we are now married and things are so nice and there's never been a problem. And now I don't regret anything. So I said, yes, it happens. I mean, you do get love when you have to. So you can't, one thing important for all the young people, you can't make love come to you. Remember that. You can't force people to love you. It has to come naturally. And happiness has to be created. I remember attending a conference where Professor Van Hoeven from Netherlands, who's done 30 years of research in happiness, said, all my research has taught me is happiness cannot be sought or bought. It has to be created. It's very, very important. So you have to create happiness where you are. I met a young boy in Sion Hospital, 22-year-old from Dharavi, who was doing his BA in economics from a little lesser known college in Sion. And I asked him, I said, how do you manage academics? So he said, sir, I sell vada pav on the road. After I finish selling vada pav, I do BA. I study for my BA. I want to do my MA economics also. And he said that in the morning, I deliver newspapers and I distribute milk. And then I have to help my father in the shop. So I go and help him in the shop. And my father has told me, you can study, but you have to also work in the shop because that's our family business. So he says he works there also. His mother is working as a maid in multiple houses. But he says, मैं खुश हूँ. He said, मेरा girlfriend भी है. सब है, मतलब they are very happy the way they are. So he was very happy in his situation. He didn't crib that, I don't have this and I don't have that. He said, sir, मैं मेहनत करूंगा, धीरे धीरे गाड़ी भी आएगी, घर भी आएगा, सब आएगा. But he said, I'm very positive that I'll work. So he taught me what resilience was. Even in Dharavi, he didn't get affected by the fact that, God has put me in Dharavi and I'm no good and this and that. No, he was studying. He would not top his college. He told me, sir, I get around 60-65% marks, but that's all I can do with the kind of resources I have. Fail to nahi hota ho. So I said, fair enough. I mean, he was very clear and he was, I think, very aware of what it was. And he said, I'm going to do my MA. And true to the fact, he is doing his MA currently. So that's the way he is. I mean, people are that way. Also remember, you have to make the most of all that you have. You can't crib. Society खराब है, government खराब है, लोग खराब है, policy खराब है, coronavirus खराब है. You can't crib. Coronavirus is a nagging mother-in-law who we are all getting used to. You know, it is that way. So earlier we didn't know what to do. We were shocked because we were newly married. Now, you know, we have spent 6-7 months with the mother-in-law. So now we know how to handle her in a way. So now, like I say, in India, Corona has reached the stage, dekh lenge. You know, we are not worried now. We've got used to Corona being there. So same way, you have to get used to things. I remember somebody came and told me that I have a very strict professor. So I said, you will have different types of professors. Some are strict, some are lenient, some are nice, some are friendly, some are not so friendly. I mean, each one is an individual and you have to adapt to all of them. You can't say, "Nahi, I had a bad professor, so I did badly." No, you can't do that. This is life. You have to adapt and adapt nicely. Last point before I open for questions and I want to make is, all of you, and I want to tell you this, is that you're in an institution, which I will tell you from my personal experience has been one of the most mental health friendly institutions in our city. I've had n number of times where your principal, madam, faculty, multiple other people have phoned me post college hours, 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m. that, "Sir, there is a particular student who needs help. Can he come and visit you right now?" Why would they bother? They could have easily said 9 to 5 is our job and we're not concerned with the student after that. But they didn't. They said no. I've had incidences where I remember students have been overnight allowed to stay on the campus because they've had nowhere to go. And the next morning, I've had somebody from the college accompany them to my clinic and bring them to me. Then we've contacted the parents. We've sorted out the issues. So help is available and you're in a good institute. So, you know, don't be afraid to seek mental health help if you need it. The only person responsible for your mental health is you yourself. If you're able to do it and you're able to seek help, you'll get help. But if you sit and sulk and accept help to come, no, help may not come. You have to be open. You have to enjoy life and live life to the fullest. Do not lose out on these 3-4 years of college life. They are going to be the best years of your life. You're going to remember this even when you grow older, because these years are not going to come back again. And I end with William Shakespeare's quote: "To those who want to listen, even the earth has music." Yes. Thank you. Yes.
Dr. Avinash, it was fabulous, excellent talk as we always heard. But let me share with you, today you have not only addressed KC College students, but HR College also. And in YouTube, there are students of various colleges of Mumbai and our students of different institutions of our board, colleges and schools. And also students of BTTC College. So this is now you are addressing today to the students of HSNC University. Right. So let me tell you that now your mantras will reach out to many. And as you really said that you have been part of, I'm really, really happy for you having said that you feel part of KC family. Now you are part of HSNC
family. University, yes.
University.
Yes.
So yes, we at HSNC University will establish mental health cell and you will have to guide us through. And Definitely. As we discussed, very soon we would like to have the international conference where we have most of the kids who really want your help and help of psychiatrists. And they really, as you said, there's a taboo. They do not approach. We will break that taboo together. So we have Dr. Pooja Ramchandani heading HR College and myself together. We shall see to it. Are all together are 14,000 students and 300 students of Bombay Teachers Training College together seek guidance and see that we make this particular university with the students and their families also mentally healthy. They should not talk about mental illness at all. So as we say that, this particular zone is clean. And so can I say it is a clean with respect to mental illness. So how we eradicate totally. We have been eradicating tuberculosis. There have been many awareness programs. So there will be eradication of mental illness totally with this community, and we can be set an example. So you will have to help us through. Thank you so much. Now over to Dr. Naveen Punjabi.
Yeah, just give me 1 minute. I mean, I'll just 1 minute. When Madam was speaking about this, I remember having a talk with Himlata ma'am some days back, and I told her that we must make HSNC University one of India's first mental health friendly universities, which is something that for students, from a student perspective, faculty perspective, staff perspective, from all perspectives. And one of the biggest things which I do want to do with all of you all in the future is, I told Madam, is we will train all our students in what we call suicide gatekeeping. That is, in case anyone talks about feeling suicidal and goes and tells them, if a friend goes to another friend and says, I feel like I want to end my life, everyone should be equipped what to tell him, what to handle, so that we can prevent any suicide from happening amongst all our students and their friends. So that's an initiative we'll take up. And ma'am, yes, we are with you in making this, mental health friendly initiative come through. We'll make it a mentally healthy zone, or a mental health pro zone, pro mental health zone, that kind of a thing. Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So I think
we'll
take forward first question answers and then vote of thanks, Naveen ji. First, let us take question. First, before we go for question answer, let me tell all the students, I keep making notes. So please keep making notes. Even I feel I'm a student and one of you. So when I'm learning from Dr. D'Souza, even you should make notes. And of course, sir will share his contact number and email ID. You can trouble him as much as you can. Okay, over to question and answers.
Ma'am, with your permission, can I ask Saksham to get the YouTube inputs to our chat box, like how we did yesterday also? Yes. Saksham, can you just get us the questions which have been put on YouTube?
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, sir, for your insightful words.
Thank you.
We have some questions over YouTube Live. I'll take some of them here. I'll recite them for you. So the first question we have is, when we talk about social media and mental health, most of the youngsters go on social media to burst their stress. What are your comments on that?
Well, I definitely agree social media is stress busting. I have never said no. So, if you go on social media, find out what your friends are doing, communicate with them, speak to them, it's definitely going to be stress busting. But it can't happen that you spend 8-10 hours a day on social media and make it your life. So if you spend 2 hours, 3 hours a day, maybe 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the afternoon, 1 hour in the evening, and tell me it's stress busting, I totally agree. But if you tell me that it's the only source of stress busting I have, I won't agree. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. The next question we have is from Yashashri M. How should we practice self-care without feeling selfish? How do we draw a line between the two?
Okay. Now, see, self-care primarily means you look after yourself. Self-care primarily means you take care of yourself mentally, physically, you groom yourself, you eat well, you sleep well, and you give yourself me time, as we call it. Now, the thing is, just because you're doing that, you're not being selfish. See, you're not looking after your family members or your friends or your people around you. So it's not being selfish. It's being self-conservative. That is what I would say is the word. So I think it's totally wrong to equate self-care with being selfish. I don't think you are. You would be able to remove time for yourself and for others.
The next question is from Dilasha Baheti. How to avoid people giving different labels to you?
Well, you really can't avoid people giving any kind of labels to you. I think people are going to label you as anything and everything. So you rather have to accept that there will be people who will say all sorts of things. I have to learn to just brush them aside and move on with my life and do what I want. You really can't, bother about the fact that, people are going to say this and say that. They will. I will give you a very simple example. When I started doing sex education classes for college students and school students, a lot of people told me I'm doing the wrong thing. And they said that, they will learn and then they will go and experiment and things will go wrong. Nothing has gone wrong ever. And I mean, I've never had a single parent who came back to me and said, aapke classes mein aake fir bachcha galat seekh ke gaya. No, I always felt it's better that someone scientific talks to them about these things rather than probably them learning from the servants or the watchman or the bus driver or someone like that. So it's easier that we tell them. So there's nothing wrong. You have to keep doing what you're doing. People will keep labeling you. That's absolutely fine.
Thank you, sir. We have another question from Minakshi Chu. How to keep yourself happy and motivated in a constantly negative environment?
Well, I always tell people the environment is negative, not you. That's the first point. So, so if you remain positive, you can always remain positive. I will quote something which Viktor Frankl mentioned. Viktor Frankl was a psychiatrist who was in a Nazi concentration camp in the World War. And he never knew whether he's going to live or die. And he said, the only thing no one can take away from you in any situation is your attitude. They can take away everything. So if your attitude remains correct, you will be fine. So, many a times, a lot of people feel that, theek hai, ghar theek nahi hai, log theek nahi hai. But if your attitude is fine, you will still come out of that. There won't be a problem.
We have a question from Mithali. Mithali, why does one feel that we are finally over something, but the anxiety and depression comes all over again? How can one come over this continuous spiral?
Okay. Now, anxiety and depression are both recurring illnesses. They do come and go. You will feel you're better, then you again get worse. So the key thing is that seek help. Seek professional help to prevent this spiral from happening. Seek professional help to prevent this recurrences from happening, because it is a recurring disorder. It's like diabetes. My sugar improves, then I eat bad, again I get sugar high. So these things happen. So same way, I mean, your anxiety and depression does recur. It's a vicious cycle, but you need to seek help and get it in order.
We have a question from Nehal Jain. How to convince parents to seek mental help?
Okay. Now, what you can do is, I mean, I'm not promoting myself, but you can go and tell them that you listened to a very nice lecture by this man called Dr. Avinash D'Souza. And you can tell them that, you come and meet him once. If you like him, then you meet him again. If you don't, then you don't. But at least meet him once and talk about your problems. And if you feel convinced by what he tells you, then you seek help. Otherwise, don't seek help. It's okay. But get them once to meet someone. It may not be me. It may be anybody else. But get them once to meet someone. That's important.
Can we take some more questions?
Yeah, please. No problem.
There's one from Isha. Sir, if we know someone who is really feeling low and is feeling a lot of anxiety, what should we tell him or her, or talk to him or her about?
Okay. First, try and find out if you can find out why it's happening. That is one. Find out if there's an elder who he would like to talk to. Find out if there's a teacher he would like to talk to. Find out if there's somebody who he could communicate with. Don't leave him alone as far as possible. Be with him, give him support, divert him. And also prompt him to seek help from a counselor, maybe, if not a psychiatrist directly. If needed, you could visit the counselor with him, seek help, and inform his parents, tell them about the condition, and see that they seek help. If the parents are not very proactive and not very pro seeking help, maybe a relative who could be of help. And if the person is 18 plus, 19 plus, maybe they could visit a counselor on their own also.
The other question is, should I seek help if I don't have strong symptoms like depression or anxiety, but still feel out of place in a full room?
Yes, I think you should seek help for anything that you feel disturbs you. I think leave the labeling, the diagnosis out. Don't think, mujhe ye nahi hai ya wo nahi hai. Just seek help. I mean, I get people who come and seek help for random things. Sir, how do I handle my boss? How do I handle my mother-in-law? How do I handle my father-in-law? I mean, these are random things. They're not diagnoses. These are just day-to-day life problems, but they probably want a neutral standpoint, from someone as to, what do they do? Even when they're handling their children, they want to know whether they are right or wrong. The child doesn't have a psychiatric problem, but they just primarily want to know whether, things are correct or not. So they seek help. It's a very normal thing to seek help for anything.
We have a question from Vanshita Bhanushali. Some people are very emotional, and when they try to convey, they are said to be really overreacting. What to do in these situations?
Okay. Now, people who are little short-tempered, little overreactive, little sensitive, they have parts of their brain which are the emotional centers, which are little what we call short-circuited in a way. So the moment that button gets pressed, they sort of overreact. It does happen. So probably they need counseling and some kind of emotional training to help them deal with this. And it's something which is very doable. So if you have somebody who's this way, please take them to a counselor and start a few counseling sessions. You don't even need to visit a psychiatrist, but maybe a counselor, and it will work.
The next question is there a risk of compromising constructive criticism in the name of appreciating everyone on the digital space?
Well, I don't think you need to appreciate everyone on the digital space. So you don't open your Facebook or Instagram and go giving likes to everything that you see. No, you don't. I always tell people, please read the post. You need not like every post. You need not react to every post. I am very selective about the posts I like. So it's only if there's something that I like. I get people who actually have even messaged that, I have put a post, please like it. Why should I like it? I don't want to like it. It's my wish. I mean, so, but then there are people, who specifically message. I mean, so that's the dependency that they have, on those likes and on those comments and whatever. And I've had people who tell me, can you pass a positive comment on my Facebook post? And I always say, if I feel positive, I'll pass a positive comment. If I don't feel positive, I won't. So I go by what I believe in. And I think the same thing should be done by young people as well.
We'll be picking 2 more questions.
Sure. Take your time. Yeah.
One is from Alia Sharma. What if that person doesn't know how to ask for help because talking about their problems to others isn't their cup of tea?
Well, there are different ways. Maybe you could write out what you feel and, hand that over to the counselor, and the counselor could then explore that further. Secondly, if you could talk to someone and that other person could speak for you, that's also welcome. But the important thing is go and sit in front of a counselor and seek help. You can always have a spokesperson. I have a number of times where a friend, want that, they come and they say that, I've been brought here by my mom. I didn't want to come to you. And I always say, okay, let your mom talk, and then let's see whether you agree with her or don't agree with her. And then very often, if they feel the mom is wrong, then they will automatically say, no, I don't agree with her. So I said, okay, then you tell me what is correct. And then we start a conversation. So it's possible.
So the last question is from Niharika. Sir, what should we do to ease ourselves if you are having a panic attack or anxiety attack?
Okay. Now, if you're having an anxiety attack, one of the things is that you need to start breathing a little fast, and you breathe a little fast consciously so that your heart rate reduces. You can breathe into a paper bag, you can breathe into a straw, you can breathe into a cup, you can do whatever that takes. It will ease you in a few minutes. So that is something which can be done. If you're regularly anxious, a little bit of yoga and mindfulness or meditation will also help you.
Thank you so much, sir. Just still questions flooding all over the comment section.
Take it. No,
surely they can reach you.
Okay. Whatever you all feel.
Shall we take it?
So on behalf of
you can take a couple of questions if they're there.
Yeah.
If sir is ready.
Yes, please.
Okay, ma'am. We have a question from Chetna. Sir, as now there is a generation gap between us and our parents, how to understand them?
See, I think you have to understand that the generation gap is normal. Okay, so I always tell people there'll be some things your parents understand and some things they won't. It's very okay. And similarly, there are some things you will probably understand and you won't. So that's very normal. And this is a very intergenerational thing. And I tell people that, by the time you realize your parents were right, you will have a son that is up against you. It invariably happens, so that is something which will happen. So I would always say that, by the time you reach your parents' age, you'll start thinking like them. At your age, you'll never think like your parents do. So it's very normal for that generation gap to happen. And I think one shouldn't really let it worry you too much. Everyone has it. I don't think there is any parent who can say that they see 100% eye to eye with their child. No, it doesn't happen.
There is another question. When we are on a social platform like Twitter, trolling is a part of the game. How to make sure that one, we are not personally attacked by trolling, and two, we don't turn into a troll ourselves.
Okay. Now, always remember, if you troll, there's a chance you'll get trolled. Okay, that's one. Secondly, and also, comment only when you really believe in it. Don't just comment because 100 people have trolled and you want to add, wo behti ganga mein haath nahi dhona. It's very important. So always remember that your comments have to be meaningful. And there's also something which is very respectful trolling. You can probably comment in a very nice way. You don't have to sound negative. So there's something called internet etiquette. And, there's an etiquette to be followed when you comment. So you can always comment in a manner that doesn't appear to be trolling, and yet you're assertive and put your point across.
Thank you so much, sir, for patiently answering all the questions that we had. I now hand over to Mr. Naveen Punjabi.
Thank you, Saksham. On behalf of the HSNC Board and HSNC University, KC College, HR College, and Bombay Teachers Training College, we thank you, Dr. Avinash D'Souza, for touching upon this most important topic in today's time, which is mental health. Firstly, I would say that you brought it in a very positive light by not calling it mental illness, but a mental pro-zone and the mental health space. So in a very beautiful way, you have explained the students that how resilient we are and how this generation has seen things from terror attack to demonetization to cyclone and of course now the pandemic. We must definitely reiterate, re-emphasize and overemphasize the fact that there is no harm in asking for help, and one should go ahead and ask for help whenever required. I think that is the most key takeaway from this session that personally I have taken, and I'm sure that the students would also take that. In a very humorous way, you explained a lot of things like affairs, timing and betrayals, and how they can impact the adolescent stage at which the students are right now. And the most important thing that today is impacting students' life and maybe in our lives is digital media, and how we should avoid these digital wars and so-called trolling and so-called cutting each other in between and doing all these things where kind of is impacting people, and one has to have a mental balance. I'm sure the students would definitely, and including faculty members, I'm sure, would now practice digital hygiene and avoid usage of devices. So my 8-year-old daughter is sitting next to me, and I was telling her that, I need to see the comments on YouTube while your session was going on. So she gave me an idea that, you're on Zoom here, you open your mobile and start seeing all the sessions. So the proof of the session lies in the pudding. So I must say, when you go back and see the comments on the YouTube session, you will get to know how well received your session was. Yeah. And it's been a privilege to have you. And I'm sure that they can follow your Instagram page and Facebook page and reach out to you. My personal suggestion is, please seek help whenever required, and please ask whenever you're in doubt. There are faculty members who are always there, and your principal is always approachable. Himlata ma'am and Pooja ma'am and Balani sir are very much approachable. Just knock their doors and go inside. They will definitely connect you to D'Souza sir, and you can then take it forward. I would also like to thank Manjula Srinivasan ma'am for coordinating this, and Saksham Agarwal for taking the question and answers, and the technical team, all the people behind the scenes who have been working tirelessly to make this induction program happen. Over to
just one. I think when we will start the counseling cell in college, we will not call it a counseling cell. We will call it a mental health lounge. So that will make it sound a lot more different. And people would go there more positively.
So, Dr. D'Souza, can we announce today the launch of the mental health lounge with you?
Yes, definitely. We will do that.
So I think we'll do that. So you want today, announcement today, or you want to have a particular date to announce?
We will fix a date, but we will definitely, before 2020 ends, start the mental health lounge. That's what we'll do. Yes.
Sure. Thanks.
Yes.
So, Naveen, thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Once again, on behalf of HSNC University, KC College, HR College, Bombay Teachers Training College, I'm thankful to the gracious presence of Dr. Avinash D'Souza. Thank you so much, sir. And I know that the idea of the session was, it was, of course, wholly dedicated to mental health. And, you know, this is, and being part of induction program for our first batch of students. And this indeed gave me immense relief and optimism that our students, with this optimism and hopefulness, they will be cheerful and confident batch of HSNC University as a first batch of HSNC University. And I would say that we all will render full support and care, whatever will be required to make them mentally healthy and strong. So thank you once again, Dr. D'Souza, and each and everyone who have made this event possible. And finally, before we end and leave the meeting, let me announce tomorrow once again, we shall meet again here, the very platform at sharp 11 o'clock. And tomorrow we will have with us Mr. Subodh Tiwari. He's the CEO of Kaivalyadham Lonavala, and he shall be joining us. And he will give you tips how to be with yourself, how to take self-care with respect to yogic sciences and meditation, and how it will help you nurture yourself. So be there with your friends, family, everyone. Thank you very much. And I request Tech team to take over and end the session. And once again, thank you, Dr. D'Souza.
Sure.
Thank you, ma'am. With your permission, can I end the session? Okay. Thank you so much, everyone.